And we have down here in the bottom right, our red Protoss player. He is
Wongjin Stars SOS from Korea.
And up here in the top left, our Zerg player. He is
Azubu Symbol from Korea.
Okay. So, time to see what these guys choose. It does look like we are going to see a gateway expand from SOS once again. But when someone gateway expands like every game, there are some pretty good builds you can do against them. You can do things like a quick pull with speed. You know, you can do things like hatchery first or even double hatchery first. You know, in fact, that one might be one of the best because there's no real counter. The gateway expand can't get aggressive quick enough to actually punish something like 2 hatcheries before a spawning pool. But in fact, Symbol going to go ahead and grab a pretty normal spawning pool. That was like a 14 spawning pool, so... Huh. He's playing pretty safe, pretty normal here. As for SOS, looks like he's going for 1 gas at the moment. We'll see if he gets in that second one again. And if he does open with the 1 gas, that tells us that he's planning a slightly different build. While you can go 1 gas into a Stargate, normally it'll be after adding on gates number 2 and 3, and sometimes after adding gates 2, 3, and 4. And what that means is that you are ready to put on pressure, or at least fake that you're going to put on pressure. Both of which are types of pressure, which will actually kind of slow down the Zerg economy. They have to make a few more lings, scout a bit more, be more aware of what's going on as well. Because if they're trying to, let's say, take a 3rd base, and you have 3 or 4 gates, and you get a pylon up near that 3rd base, it's probably going to go down. So it looks like he's probably going to end up doing something like that, 3 or 4 gates, as he still just does not have that second gas. So Symbol is going to know that in just a second. His Overlord is flying in. He's going to see that there's no second gas yet, most likely. I'm going to check just to make sure. And, well, there you go. I guess the Observer's going to check as well. Hebendam, a great observer. And he sees. So, with no gas, no second gas there, this is a situation during which you need to get speed very quickly. Or, I mean, you can do something like a Roach Warren instead. The speed is normally quite nice because you can catch the probe while it's out on the map and actually kill off the pylon, which is the root of the problem. Alright, so we'll see. SOS should be throwing up some additional buildings really quickly here. There's that speed upgrade as mentioned previously. And Symbol's still getting more gas. Notice the 3 harvesters on there. That is a big deal. I think he's going to throw down a Roach Warren because I'm pretty sure he's pretty sure there's going to be Zealots warping in on the map pretty soon here. So a couple more gates being made, and he already got his next gas too. And in fact he is going up to all 4 gates. So this is going to be a situation during which SOS really wants to get a pylon down on that map and push in. But even by pushing out with the probe and showing the pylon, you don't necessarily have to make the Zealots. The thing is, I think in this case we absolutely are going to see it, but just the fact that this Overlord sees those gates at the front is going to make a response, because if you don't, you're just gambling with your whole life. So we have 8 lings already being produced. There is a proxy pylon. That's a good place for one. Pretty close. A lot of Zerglings on the way. Now he has to be careful, because if these Zerglings get overwhelmed very, very quickly, then it's going to go really bad for him. You know, you have to actually be able to get quite a few of the Zealots. And in fact, this is a nice round. Symbol's doing a good job so far. When the Zealots get up to a larger number, like if you get 7, 8, 9 Zealots out there, then they start to really, really overwhelm the Zerglings. So to sacrifice a few extra Zerglings right there to make sure you kill the first 3, is great, because now look, he's taken out the pylon. It's not like SOS can sit at that pylon and warp in 6 more zealots, 8 more zealots, something like that. He doesn't have enough time. So this aggression has been completely stemmed because Symbol scouted it, he made the lings, and he caught those 3 zealots right away. Now this is an interesting transition that's going on. Now Symbol's gotten his Overlord speed, and he sees that there's 2 forges coming up. This is kind of a funny situation. I wonder what's going through Symbol's head right now, because I've never seen anyone go the 4 gates just into 2 forge, because there's no actual tech buildings there. Without any tech buildings, you can't just make gateway units and attack Zerg. Not after this window that we already saw. Which, by the way, this is really nice, using the Zealot and the Mothership Core to try to take out the Queen. Looks like he just barely didn't get enough swipes there to kill the Queen, but if you put a little damage on a Queen, you can finish off really quickly with a flying unit like that. Okay, so he's actually hidden over there, a pylon. Very well done, warping in these rounds of Zealots. Once he has that 1-1, it's going to be really, really nice against the Zerglings. And he is getting a Twilight Council, so this kind of reminds me slightly of what he's done on this map in the past. He's preferred a lot of Dark Templars here. This could be some sort of Blink build, it could be a Charge Archon build, something like that. Now, unfortunately for him, he's utilizing mostly Zealots so far, and we have Roach speed on the way. Now, Roaches eat Zealots like nobody's business, so okay, he's actually getting Blink, and that's going to be good, because Zealots aren't going to hold up against the test of time of Roaches on this map. So that hidden pylon actually allowing him to snipe this hatchery, and the thing is he can get home with all these Zealots as well. And while Zealots aren't going to be the most useful thing in the whole wide world against a bunch of Roaches, just having them in front to tank for the incoming Blink Stalker attack is going to be fantastic. And in fact, at this point, I don't even know that he should go out and attack. I am almost feeling like he should be taking a 3rd base here and playing a little bit more defensive. Now, looks like he wanted to get a little bit done there. Way too many Roaches, though. Decides he has to back up very smartly. Doesn't want to lose anything extra. There's no reason to. He's already gained his advantages here. Easily can wipe out any of those Zerglings. And he is getting 2-2, so yeah, I do think we're going to see a 3rd base. It'd be really funny if we actually see him go all the way up to 2-2 Blink Stalkers and go, but in this weird scenario, it could work. It could be fine, because he's delayed the Zerg 3rd base for so long. He delayed it initially with his opening build, and then delayed it by killing it off. So if it's 2 base versus 2 base, and he's got 2-2 against, like, let's say 1-1 or so, which I think is what the upgrades will be if he hits right away, that's going to be rough. And in fact, this is getting more and more interesting by SOS. Because right now, Symbol is playing like pretty normal. There's nothing like super interesting or different that he's doing. He's just trying to like hold on and figure out what SOS is doing and why and how to counter it. But SOS continually scouts and puts on pressure here, figuring out what his opponent's doing, and now he's saying, oh, okay, so you have Roaches, and now you're going into some Hydras. Okay, I'm going to go for Colossus Tech. And I'm going to have 2-2, and I'm going to take a 3rd. And his 3rd, it's not too late. It's about 1240-ish when he takes it. Against a Zerg who's 30 already killed, so that's nice. But with that 3-3 and the Colossus Tech, now he's saying, okay, now you have to go into like Corruptors or Vipers or something. And this is just really, really solid play that I've never, ever seen before from SOS. Not that I haven't seen solid play from him, but I've never seen this strategy ever, and I don't know that there's anyone that's watched more Starcraft than me, so I like to think that means something. Well, Symbol going with this attack now, this is a little bit dangerous, because he has Blink and 2-2 and a lot of force fields, so a lot of units are dying, but he did get the Canceller kill on that 3rd base there, so that's at least nice for Symbol. And he is up a bit in supply, but the army of SOS is actually pretty darn scary, especially if he actually takes that 3rd and goes for 3-3. Because Right now the upgrades are catching up for Zerg a little bit. But overall, you know, normally Zerg will have double Evos working all game in a Zerg versus Protoss, whereas Protoss oftentimes will be on one Forge for quite a while. So to even be even against the Zerg upgrades, which he's a little bit ahead still, I would say, but even if they were both at 2-2, that's more uncommon from the Protoss side, so I would still give that as a slight advantage to SOS. SOS just kind of scouting around with some aggressive Zealots there. And as far as... Okay, we actually have Hive on the way for Symbol, because he's going to need something to deal with these Colossi. A bunch of 2-2 Blink Stalkers, Colossi, Force Fields, and Immortals will just cut through this ground-based army. And in fact, he scouts that. So we should see a Templar Archives coming very soon, or an attack. And in fact, he puts down a Twilight Council, which I'll talk about in just a second, but a big attack coming in here. Well, he's just really focusing on that third, and that was quite an investment. I'm not completely sure about this from Symbol. I mean, he actually almost broke through that army, but instead he's going to lose everything, and there's still a big chunk left for SOS. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm surprised Symbol did that well in that battle. I thought he would do even worse than that. And he did force the cancel, but this is an obvious counterattack time now for SOS. He can actually just move out with this army. He just needs to warp in a few more units. The one thing that's going to be working really well for Symbol is the lack of sentries. There's only 3 sentries out right now, and I don't think they have very much energy. So there's a possibility that he can spread out and actually end up killing this army. But this army definitely is pretty solid for where it is in the game right now. Now, will SOS actually push out all the way across? He's forced a lot of units by moving up. And he does finally have that Templar Archives. By the way, the second Twilight was just because the game has been so weird. When a game gets this different and this weird, oftentimes you forget that you already have certain tech structures and you throw them down at a very normal time. Like, he normally probably plays like a Colossus type style and gets the Twilight once he scouts Hive or something of that flavor. So he scouted the Hive and said, oh, okay, manual overdrive in the brain. Just go up and tech to Templars so that you're ready for the Vipers. So we do have the 4 Vipers on the way, which is going to rebalance the game a little bit more towards Symbol, but SOS has Psystorm on the way. So if he has his High Templars already out and gets the feedbacks off, and can actually get a couple Psystorms off, then he's going to be able to crush the army again. The one thing I do have to say is that Symbol has basically had his 4th base running a lot longer than SOS wants him to, because SOS twice had to cancel that 3rd base. So his economy's behind where it actually should be in this game, and Symbol's is about where it should be in this game. So as we see, there's actually a much bigger bank for Symbol. But it is very mineral heavy, so it could be a pretty heavy Roach remax once after this next battle. Nice abduct there. Able to pick that off quite quickly. Always important to have those warp prisms out on the map, so anytime you can pick those off, it really puts a wrench in the Protoss strategies. Alright, so the next engagement has the potential of actually deciding this. That was really good for the Protoss, of course. Beautiful 2 Psystorms, and he cast some feedback on every single Viper there. So a huge moment. 5 Vipers have to be remade, and he gets to kill a base. And then he turns around, which is kind of interesting. And also, I do want to point out, right at this second, he has a Mothership Core, but where is it? He's actually using his Mothership Core between some Nexuses, but this is not the right time. It should actually be with his army right now. And you can see he's a little bit out of position, leaving a couple Zealots to kill that, but this counterattack, if everything had come, could have done some more damage because there's not Mothership Core with his army. In fact, it's still doing reasonably well. Running up there, that's very, very annoying for Protoss to deal with. But in the meantime, sending all his Zealots around, really good choice with that. Looks like he does get the hatchery, so very, very strong. Better to get the gas than anything else there. But at the same time, the Roach is taking out that Twilight. That means it's all going to be Zealots and Templars being warped in. Shouldn't bother him too much, but that's okay. The Vipers consume that Evolution Chamber completely to death. Alright, and this game's getting a little bit crazy. Again, this is going to come down heavily to what can these Vipers actually get done. Notice the High Templars standing in the front there. Abduct and Feedback are at the same range. He's using Hallucination to spot for them incoming. So he does not get caught off guard there. And again, I would love to see the Mothership Core actually with that army, because then he could commit fully into doing things like hitting the third and then warping back home to defend against a base trade type of scenario. So right now he's adding a lot more gates. The economy has gotten so good for SOS where he's basically crippled the economy of his opponent. Now, a big chunk of the bank, in fact, basically all of the gas banked for Symbol is going into these Broodlords. The Broodlords actually have to do damage. He basically has to be able to kill this army off with what he has after these pop out. And that's 25 Hydras, a Corruptor, 7 Broodlords, and 5 Vipers and 9 Roaches. So, I mean, he's going to do well against it because it's only 13 Stalkers, but with the amount of gates that were just added, it's very easy for SOS to warp in a ton more Stalkers during the battle. And between the several High Templar and the 3 Colossus, he is going to just evaporate the rest of the ground army. So I don't think there's going to be much left over standing underneath those Broodlords. And the thing is, does he attack? Does he come off creep to try to move over here and kill a base of SOS? Or does he just sit here and try to retake his fourth? Neither are really good choices here. SOS has actually put Symbol into a pretty terrible position. Well, more Zealots just kind of running around. It's, of course, to try to divide up the army. He doesn't care at all about that Zealot supply. It means nothing right now to SOS, just harassment units. And, oh man, if he gets that fourth, and he's going to, because we see no units walking towards it, he decides to go save his hive, but that means he's going to lose his, in fact, he's going to lose his hive. Oh, this is basically, this is ending very quickly here. I would not be surprised if we see Symbol go attack right now. He's got very few options left to him. He's making a bunch of spines, but the only option other than attacking right now, and I don't think it's a very good option, is to literally do what we see here, which is a ton of spines, sit behind turtling, and just try to slowly take the map. Like, turn this into a 50-minute game. Oh, that's so unbelievably brutal. So the Vipers are basically all gone. There's one Viper left over. The cost efficiency of SOS is basically off the charts at this point. He's got a big bank, more minerals than his opponent, and like 5 times more gas. And in fact, he can't even make Overseers right now. That's pretty rough. So those 2 DTs are going to town. Wow. Okay, so Symbol is just basically committing to this attack. This is his last chance. Broodlords are going to be hard to engage into, especially with that army sitting behind so he can't just blink under, or the Roaches and Hydras will move forward and kill him. So he's going to have to let that Nexus die. It's just too cost inefficient to engage into that tiny little choke. Expanding to the other side, very good idea. The Zerg army can just sit over on that side for all SOS scares. He's stacking up to Tempest because they do kill Broodlords so quickly. Well, yeah, the DT's basically finishing off all the tech of his opponent. this army has to now not just kill the army of SOS like I was saying before, but it actually has to kill SOS completely. So it has to erase that army, all the reinforcements, and kill all the buildings. Well, the buildings will be easy if there's no reinforcements, but down goes that last Viper. And now the Tempests are going to go to town on those Broods. And against this, what does he do? He has only the Hydras as his anti-air, and if they come too closely, Colossus Beams, as well as Psystorm, is just going to knock them out. And this is SOS very patiently collecting his second victory in this best of 3. Symbol knows he has to go very, very soon here. And there you have it. This is going to be the last battle of this game. Just beautiful Psystorms all over the place. And we should be seeing a GG in a moment. All right. A cool series, I would say. That last game, well, you know, Symbol, he played well, but that was a weird follow-up by SOS. And this is actually something that happens to Zergs and Terrans, and maybe not Protosses, but Zergs and Terrans that play against SOS. He plays a bit different. He has his own style that isn't really like an all-in type of style. It's just very, very different. And to go for... He warped in 3 Zealots or 4 Zealots off of a 4 gate after Expand. Walked them up, did nothing with them, made 2 Forges, and started chrono boosting 1-1. And then went into Blink while hiding another pylon. So the hidden pylon was probably the biggest issue in that game. If Symbol had actually been able to find that hidden pylon, which probably went up. I didn't even really see it going up. It probably went up during the time he was warping Zealots elsewhere. Then the whole game would have looked different, because he would have been on 3 bases against kind of a semi-failed 4-gate. And then, you know, with that type of economy, he can actually hold on a lot better. But between that and then maybe sacrificing so much army, he had spent so much on his layer tech army, and then sacrificed that into that 3rd base the second time. That was a pretty expensive moment. And even though SOS was down on bases, you know, there was just all these layer units on the map that really didn't transition well into that super late game. So we're going to go ahead and jump to a quick break, and then we'll be back with the winner's match, which will be 4GG against SOS, so don't go away.